Waiheke opposed the block-offer process in its entirety. Ōrākei board provided an informal comment that there should be no seabed mining or extraction within the Hauraki Gulf, within 200 nautical miles of the Hauraki Gulf. The Mangere Otahuhu local board provided informal advice seeking a mineral exclusion zone along the length of the North Island and supported a precautionary position of avoiding Maui's dolphin marine mammal sanctuary. Puki Te Papapara expressed concern about the risks and basically indicated their concern about the capability for effective oil spill response and asked for greater requirements to be placed on parties through the Environmental Protection Authority in Maritime New Zealand. Manurewa local board echoed some of the concerns that had been identified in the proposed council paper, underlining the values of the Manukau Harbour and its environs, and requested all practical steps be taken to protect those values and supported the council's request for block-off areas to avoid the marine mammal sanctuary. Mangakiki Tamaki local board opposed allocation of petroleum exploration permits in the proposed block areas because of community concerns over oil spill risks and potential risks to Maui's dolphin and recovery of their population. And Franklin local board informal submission raised concerns about environmental sensitivity and risks of oil spills and supported the council's previously requested actions to avoid or reduce risks to Maui's dolphin habitat and remaining populations.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Sayers, you've got a further question?
I just want to thank you for that supplementary question, Mr Mayor. That was most helpful. If I could just seek a slight clarification, those informal feedback comments that were just made, were they the point of view of individuals or of those local boards collectively, those informal comments? You obviously indicated some were local boards.
Yes, they are local board. I guess the issue here is that the consultation period is only a month long for the central government processes typically, and so it's sometimes very hard to actually coincide with a local board meeting. So what might happen is that you might have a ring round of local board members to basically kind of what's our collective view on this issue, and then they might put that into an email to the council officers as an informal approach.
Right. Can I now have Councillor Quacks?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just carry on from the question around the economic value of this, and I'll put this as a question, Mr. Mayor.
Please,
are you aware
required.
that oil is our fourth largest export after...
It sounds like a question, but it actually sounds more like a statement. Is there a specific technical issue that you'd like to raise?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I think that you did raise a question as a supplementary to Councillor Casey about what this is worth.
Yes.
In terms
okay,
of,
but please put it as a technical question rather than a statement, Councillor Quacks.
Well, are you aware that this is our fourth largest export?
I'm aware of the report that Paula referred to before about sort of what contributions it makes to the economy at a national scale.
I'd like to expand on that further but later on, Mr. Mayor.
You will do so in the proper context, Councillor Quacks. Thank you. Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My question is on some wording in the submission. There's 5 mentions of blowout in paragraphs 15, 18, 28, 30, 31. Is that a technical term? Because I note that it would normally be a spill, not a blowout, and even Waitaki Ranges local board's submission talks about spill. Technically, is a blowout possible in this process? Is that the right word to use? So I'm saying in the submission.
So a spill is a sort of a consequence of a blowout in terms of what's actually happening on the seabed, and it could be better qualified. We could certainly tweak that wording, but the intent is to simply recognise that when you are undertaking exploratory drilling, there is a chance that you'll come across a show of oil or gas, which might, if it's not properly captured with the mitigation measures in place, could result in that sort of a negative consequence.
So, sorry, can I...
And also, Mr Mayor, can I just ask, we've got some of the people behind here, our other elected members that keep scoffing when the staff are talking or are talking, and I'd really appreciate that if we didn't
Yeah.
have that. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I can't hear it from here, but if there should not be comment from the public, please, and it's grossly unfair and discourteous to do it
Especially
when
to the
officials
staff.
have got their back to you. So you have strong views, I accept that, but please show the courtesy that I requested in the affirmation statement at the start of this and every meeting. Can I just seek a clarification of Councillor Cooper's comment? Can you define the difference between a spill and a blowout? Is a blowout when the oil or gas escapes under pressure? And what are the likely consequences of the sort of drilling that occurs for exploratory findings? Is that likely to result in a blowout, which I take to mean under pressure, which would obviously be more serious?
Yes, so a blowout does have the pressure element to it, and I guess the question then is, well, what level of drilling is going on and what degree of blowout could be potentially happening under those circumstances. So
that's answering a question with a question. What would be the level of intensity? Do you have any information on that?
it's very dependent on sort of the geology of the area you're drilling into, the pressure of the ground. So
a blowout is a possibility. There could be the escaping of oil under pressure, as I
That's
suppose.
all I wanted
Yes.
to know,
Thank
whether that was the
you.
right terminology. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask a supplementary to that, because I think it's a very
Certainly.
good question, and it is a technical question now. In regards to oil fields around New Zealand, are they high-pressure fields such as in the Gulf of Mexico where we had a catastrophic blowout, or are they under less geology, under less pressure?
I don't think we're probably qualified to answer that question right at the moment. There's lots of reports, I think, done throughout Taranaki that would probably give you some of the technical information about a lot of the fields down there. But I think at this point I'd rather not provide an answer unless I've done some more research.
Fair
on
enough.
that.
Okay, thank you, but good question. Councillor Filipaina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question to our staff, and then also a question on clarification to you, Mr. Mayor, after this. So, question to our staff on page 21 of our submission on number 19. Can you just confirm, and please excuse my ignorance here, but can you confirm that the Paris Pledge for Action, the Compact of Mayors and the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group are non-legally binding to Auckland Council? Are they legally binding to central government? Just clarification, because it's in our submission.
I may answer that. My understanding is that the C40 and the Compact of Mayors is more an agreement, so that places us under sort of a moral and reputational obligation, whereas the central government agreeing to ratify the Paris Agreement is binding.
It's binding. Okay. And clarification to you, Mr. Mayor, the Waitakere Rangers Local Board, the two that have been highlighted, clarification question is, would this be included in our submission? The 2 points that are highlighted to us.
I think it's included in the minutes rather than the submission, but I'll just seek clarification of that. Yeah, it's only in the minutes. It's not part of the submission. It can be attached if the council was of a mind to attach
Right.
it, but we'd probably that would probably require a resolution to do so, I imagine.
Well, that'll be just, hopefully should your approval end up being put part of the recommendation if there's a request to you as mayor to include it and the agreement of the governing body.
It can be moved
Yeah.
as a resolution.
Okay,
Okay.
I will move those
Yep.
then when we actually get to that.
You've foreshadowed
point.
that.
Thank
Further
you.
comment, please?
Yes, I was just going to say that the Waitakere Rangers Local Board views are attached to the proposed council submission as an attachment.
So they're
So-
currently
so they're
attached and would go
currently
as a submission.
in-
Thank you very much
yeah.
for that clarification.
I've seen them
So
at the back of the
the
submission,
resolution
but
won't be needed, Councillor Filipaina. Councillor Newman.
I'm going to read that.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just drawing the officers to attachment B of the report, and specifically to paragraph 11. I'm not trying to trip you up here, but can I just ask, with respect to the reference to Maritime New Zealand's management of the oil spill response preparedness of operators and its responsibility to coordinate response to any major oil spills, in the preparation of this report, have you discussed with Maritime New Zealand their current capacity to undertake that work?
Not in the capacity of this report, but in our previous preparation for earlier submissions, staff have looked at what the capability documents that Maritime New Zealand have produced.
And before any drilling is done, the company doing the drilling must submit a discharge management plan and spill event management plan as part of gaining their permit.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Newman. Councillor Simpson.
My questions have been answered, thank you.
Okay. Can I put the final question, and it relates to what is in the substantive recommendation in relation to financial liability. If there were a spill of the scale of, say, the Rena, but potentially if it were to happen on the scale of the Gulf of Mexico, what financial liabilities would currently be incurred by our council as part of the clean-up, or do we have a watertight guarantee that all of the cost of the clean-up, notwithstanding the damage to the environment that can't be compensated for, what percentage of the financial cost would potentially fall on council?
I think there is a risk that there is a cost to council, and I think there's as we've seen with the RENA and the Bay of Plenty, that the central government had to sort of really put a few dollars into that to make sure that was sorted out. But then I think they were also reliant a little bit on some of the local bodies contributing some level of support.
So, no, that's fine. That's the answer to my question. I was about to make a statement, and then I'd have to rule myself out of order. Okay, thank you very much to the officials for answering those questions. I'd like now to move to the debate and invite Councillor Casey to move her amendment. That would be a 10-minute speech.
I'll move it, a 10-minute speech.
It doesn't have to be 10 minutes, but,
I'm
but
well
it can be.
extra. I'll just, I need to get a new T-shirt now that I know there's 63 Maui dolphins. I've got the 55 T-shirt. That's good news, but it's not good enough. And first of all, I'd like to say everybody in this room swore an oath within the last week to act in the best interests of Auckland. And this is really important. You take off your political hat because the government is asking us for something. This is not about who's asking, it's about whether there is benefits to Auckland. And I'd just like to say, you know, we've had training in the last couple of days about reports. You're supposed to weigh things up. There are 10 pages in our submission, 4 concerns, outlining our concerns, 1 sentence about the benefits. So can you honestly say that if you support this, you know what the benefits are to Auckland? Because I have had no comfort, excuse me, through the chair, that there are benefits. I lived in Scotland as a student during the oil exploration off the North Shore. And how many years was that ago? Like 30? What were the benefits for the people at the bottom? Anybody know? The trickle-down effect doesn't actually work. So this is about multinational corporations deriving benefit from our environment. What's our responsibility? I brought the Auckland plan with me on a bike. It weighs about 4 pounds, but it's a wonderful document. New councillors might not have read it, but everybody else certainly knows about it, and I know it's up for review. This is the mandate you have to protect our environment, to protect the 63 Maui dolphin. So I'm here to speak for them, and I want you to speak for them too. The mandate is this. The chapter I'm referring to is Auckland's environment. It's got 30-odd pages. Right on the first page is this one target. Ensure no regional extinctions of indigenous species and a reduction in the number of threatened or at-risk species from 2010 levels by 50% by 2040. Ensure no regional extinctions. This is the rarest dolphin in the world. 63 of them, and you've heard, I mean, if you've seen the report, you will know how endangered they are. They are critically endangered. And I'll refer you to a sentence in this report that you must read again right now, because this is the key one for me. It's on our page 25 of the agenda, it's clause 10. Maui's dolphins are highly sensitive to seismic noise, such as the noise that would be produced by drilling, and their range offshore is not well understood. And their range, that's what Councillor Lee was talking about. They don't read signs. They just swim in our ocean. So it's all very well to say, oh, we're protecting this bit, you know, we'll not go near this bit. But if they're swimming in that bit, they're gone. So the decision today for me is about whether we actually care about one of the rarest dolphins in the world and speaking up for them. Where's the evidence? Where is the evidence that we should do this? Our last couple of training days say we need to weigh everything up. There is absolutely no question in this submission, if you look at the words and you listen to the testimony today, you cannot actually articulate any benefits to Auckland. Not one.